All right, friends, welcome back again to another episode of Tactical Enlightenment's YouTube channel. Our channel is dedicated to all things Bannerlord related, and especially advanced battlefield command and tactics. And we are now dedicated to this journey back into time in which our campaign is simulating the Napoleonic invasion of Russia in 1812. You can see we're near St. Petersburg, which of course is Ustakol Castle, a very Russian-sounding named castle in the actual game. I'm going to give you a little bit of an update since this is going to be the start of an episode, try to recap some stuff, and then we will continue on with our historic ramble and with our historic reenactment here. Of course, you might want to turn the map like that. St. Petersburg is hundreds of miles, or at least it is a couple, hundreds of miles, I think, from Moscow. Actually, I'm not sure what it is, so I won't make shit up. But what we essentially did is rename a bunch of the Bannerlord cities after major cities and or events along the Napoleonic invasion. So you've got the Niemen River here, going all the way back to Warsaw and Paris. Of course, there are some maps where I could have adapted them to be used better for it, but then I wouldn't have this campaign, right? This Aserai campaign. And I know it's a strange amalgamation, but just give it a shot. Give me 5 minutes here, and maybe I can change your mind. I think this is going to be a fun journey as we continue to simulate this very difficult campaign and the weather effects, right? It's now autumn 11 in game. You can see there's some snow on the hills. There's kind of a perpetual rain or cold mist about the lands. Our troops are very battered at this stage, right? Now, our main army is pretty strong, but a lot of the auxiliary armies are weak, right? The main army here, led by Wazuban, still has elite troops up and down its ranks. And this is actually historically accurate as well. Napoleon had a very strong army, and he, at this stage was being followed more or less by a bunch of ragtag smaller armies. Some of them had more units than the others, but most of them were quite weak. Now we continue to simulate food, and we're providing self-penalties, so to speak, on the food, right? In other words, we're making this harder than the base game makes it because, frankly, the base game is too easy. Now, also, we're going to add a couple little elements here that were both sort of historically accurate and the best way to do this. It's important for you to know that after Napoleon entered Moscow, and I plan on talking about that quite a bit in this episode, they had about 5 or 6 weeks to R&R there. Now, I'm not actually going to sit in the actual city of Moscow here because that would be pretty boring. We're going to wander between these little villages, and I'll talk about some of the events that happened, right? We're watching the snow line move down. In fact, it kind of looks like there's a dusting of snow behind us here. Obviously, winter occurs in Russia much earlier than it does in France and most parts of the world. While they were in while they were in Moscow, the troops did lots of pillage. Of course, there was the initial fires that were probably set by criminals. The winds fanned the flames. It burned something like 2/3 of the city, and they rounded up and shot incendiaries. That was the name they used to call arsonists back then, incendiaries. So we're gonna gather some troops here because we continue to penalize ourselves from a perspective of disease and desertion. And again, I've shown this before. I will continue to show the graphics. I'm going to do it in the after narration. Understand, of course, I'm playing this live, and then I will try to put these things on the screen at precise moments. At the bottom there, you will see the temperature pop up. You will see the army status and things like that. Now, I'm collecting these troops here because, frankly, of course, we're going to take St. Petersburg and we're going to try to dump the lowest level troops possible. Now, we left way too big of a garrison at Moscow. We'll head back there and its snowy environment to pick some of those troops up. That's the other component we're doing. We're making sure we leave 150 garrison at every location we take as we continue to trudge through the landscape here very slowly. If you're a fan of action, there will be action, but I would say bear with me here and let me set the historical scene first before there is action. Of course, we're going to attack St. Petersburg here. Now, this did not happen in the actual historic event. This decision was considered by Napoleon. They said, let's just march on St. Petersburg, where Tsar Alexander I was hiding out, right, not responding to Napoleon's messages, and ultimately it was decided that the cavalry were in too bad a shape for them to try that. The cavalry at this stage, the French cavalry, were in horrendous shape, and it was only going to get worse. They lacked fodder because of the raised ground tactics by the Russian. Winters moving in. Lots and lots of warfare has also just caused the land to become quite bedraggled, right? Quite bereft of fodder for the cavalry. I'll talk more about Marshal Murat, the famous and flamboyant cavalry leader for the French. In fact, this siege here is an absolute run-of-the-mill siege. Understand this is mostly, quite honestly, we're stalling here a little bit. The French were hanging out in Moscow because Napoleon was waiting for Alexander to come to Moscow on his knees and give Napoleon the adulation and the peace treaty that he wanted, and no such response was coming. So we're going to stall just a little bit here. I'm not going to do these perks and stuff like that. I might do them later on. Smolensk is being besieged. That's that single army that's sieging Smolensk. Not too worried about that. But let's talk more about the French in Moscow. We'll talk more about the pillaging, and I want to talk about Marshal Murat to start. Of course, I've mentioned this cavalry commander before, cavalry marshal. He was one of the most flamboyant, skilled cavalrymen of the age. He wore incredibly bright uniforms he basically looked like a celebrity with big feathers in his hat and a giant, fancy gold laced gun. And basically he stood out like a sore thumb, and you would think, well, he would just get killed. This guy had an almost supernatural ability to survive combat, and his bravery was legendary. He was frequently near the front of his cavalry divisions, leading them, beckoning them to go forward, charge, let's go, boys. In French, it probably sounds a lot better. Excuse those English people who just retched. But the bottom line is that this guy was an amazing character, and I want to talk about him for a couple minutes here as we do this very mundane siege. In fact, I'm just going to let this siege proceed slowly. We will actually engage in the siege of this, but it's going to be a blasting, and hopefully I can dribble, chew gum, and ride a bicycle at the same time here as we do some tactics for this castle assault. And finish our conversation, our monologue about Marshal Murat. So he's a fascinating character, super brave. He was very well trusted by Napoleon to do difficult deeds, and multiple times he saved Napoleon with huge, brave, powerful cavalry charges at key moments in battles. The one that comes to mind is the Battle of Marengo. Obviously, there was also, obviously, you may not have heard of it, the Battle of Eylau. There was a devastating cavalry charge there as well. Actually, the Battle of Marengo, I don't think was Marshal Murat. Anyways, that was General Kellerman. But at Eylau and other battles, Marshal Murat and his cavalry basically saved the day, right? We're talking 10,000 cavalry charging with this bright guy in his helm at the front. And because of that, this guy now had a reputation. So Marshal Murat and his 25,000 or so cavalry and his corps, cooks and whatnot, they did have an artillery corps for the cavalry corps. They still had artillery. It's kind of an interesting concept. That is part of the Napoleonic corps system, right? These corps were effectively individual, complete armies, and because of that, of course, they could be spread out. Well, whoever's decision it was, Marshal Murat was outside the city of Moscow for most of the time. He was actually like 50, 60, 70, 80 miles away, basically keeping an eye on the Russian, doing all the kind of things that you expect your cavalry commander and scout to do. Now, this guy obviously had plenty of assistance. I don't want you to get the picture of him doing it all on his own, but just understand that he was not in Moscow, and part of the reason, of course, was fodder. Moscow had been burned out by the fires. Most cities don't have a lot of grass, right? Unless you live in a really unusual, progressive city where they're really featuring, lots of natural areas. Most cities are fucking concrete and stone and buildings. So there's no grass for the horses. Marshal Murat and his vital cavalry for the French were seeking fodder, grass, whatever they could eat away from the city. Well, they encountered the Russians eventually. In fact, they encountered the Cossacks, which I've talked about numerous different times, right? These incredibly tough Russian-like cavalry. Look at this barrage these poor bastards are facing. We are blasting this city. Again, I don't need to narrate this. So Marshal Murat encountered Cossacks, and by now the Cossacks had an unbelievable respect for Marshal Murat. Quite frankly, most people did. He was seen as a little bit dishonest, a little bit sleazy, maybe a little bit scandalous and stuff like that. People weren't entirely sure about his character, but they knew he was one brave motherfucker, and that made him, you know, the Steve McQueen, the Brad Pitt, the Rock, or whatever your fucking perspective is of some badass today. That was Marshal Murat back in the day, right? He was seen as fearless. He was seen even by the enemy as almost unkillable. There were multiple times where the enemy fired on him at close range and didn't hit him, and later in their diary wrote, like, I don't think he's a real person. They literally wrote this kind of stuff, and of course you could see how that mythology would grow. In fact, later on, I'm not going to blow too much of it, he was executed, I think, by firing squad, and I remember, I think it was Marshal Murat, might be somebody else. They actually weren't sure he was going to die. One of the guys wrote in one of his diaries later on that I wasn't sure it was going to work. Basically, they really did feel like they were facing, you know, like a ghost, something unbeatable, just this powerful force, almost like Wazuban here, just single-handedly shredding this poor castle militia here. There's one other guy here, and Wazuban is just shredding the entire militia corps here. All right, so back to Marshal Murat. There were some really cool encounters between Marshal Murat and Russian commanders, as well as the Cossacks. The Cossacks actually repeatedly called him "Hail the King." Like, these guys had so much respect for him, and probably so little respect for Alexander I, who was sort of seen as a normal, relatively non-gallant, non-brave king, as was often the case. And the Cossacks just thought Marshal Murat was the shit, right? They thought he was the bee's knees, and they would literally respond, "It's the king, it's the king." And so naturally, they did not run up and just try to kill him on sight, especially when it was not a pitched battle. A lot of times they would essentially act obsequious. They would act very in awe of his character, and because of that, he took advantage of that, and more accurately, he had a good relationship with other people. The other have to understand, and let me tell this story first before I get this point on. There was actually one point where there was some pickets, right? The Russians had pounded in pickets to protect one of their forts, and Marshal Murat went out and said, "Hey, can you move these couple hundred yards closer to your camp here? It'll be more convenient for our army." And the Russians did. They're like, sure, whatever you say, the king. Just to give you an idea of his aura in this engagement. There was another time where there was a large cattle herd pushing through, kind of a wild or abandoned cattle herd, and Marshal Murat went up, and there were some Cossacks kind of looking at him, probably licking their chops, like, I'd like some burger, and he decided to split the cavalry, these cattle with these Cossacks, right? You really get a view. And by the way, we're not going to leave any garrison here. This is not going to count. This was just sort of an added additional quest. We're going to go ahead and say here in Wazuban's world, he does capture the emperor. Come with us, Alexander. But understand, of course, that didn't happen in the actual historical event. Again, we're doing this to stall so that I can rave about how much I think Marshal Murat's a badass. I actually don't, other than this guy was incredibly brave. Marshal Murat was an important character and very brave, but he wasn't like he was this incredible commander, who was Napoleon's equal or better. That's definitely not the case. Marshal Murat had a very strong skill set as a cavalry marshal, and that's where it ended. Briefly, he was like king of Italy or some shit like that, and it was a total disaster. Basically, he had no statesman's ability whatsoever. Anyways, all right, so Marshal Murat had this aura, and there was this incredible relationship with other generals. He personally asked one of the other Russian generals, let me give my horse feed here. The horses are dying. Come on, man, be a good man and let us. Kranarog is being sieged. That's cool. Let me break off real quick. So this is the Aserai, which are at war with our enemies here, and they are sort of it's sort of like they're simulating some of the forces that were helping Napoleon. They are attacking some of the locations that are en route on the way back to Paris, which is good. Smolensk is being sieged. I don't give a shit about that. We're not going back to Smolensk, if anybody's wondering. Again, every once in a while, I'll post a little graphic here, which basically shows what the mission goals are for us to achieve victory in this made-up challenge. But it does include going back to Smolensk. But it's cool that the Aserai are maybe they're going to be around. Maybe they'll participate in a battle, or at a minimum, they're going to harangue the enemy and sort of help us. Napoleon had help, right? And that's an important thing to understand. The Austrians were helping. There were Polish divisions out there trying to keep his reinforcements, trying to keep things moving, trying to keep messages going and stuff like that. Now, we're getting to the point here, right, where I need to do this other component of this challenge. Every 7 days, we are simulating a loss of troops to disease and desertion based on the amount of food that we voluntarily let go, right? We're essentially creating a made-up portion of this where I have to choose certain amounts of food to be released, basically off into the wilderness, simulating very hungry troops, and then we're also going to simulate desertion and disease because Bannerlord doesn't do it. During the campaign at this stage, Napoleonic army was suffering considerable desertion and obviously more disease. So just let you know, that was another one of the checkpoints there, August 14th. Again, I'll put the graphic on there and kind of keep you up to date on that kind of stuff. So things are getting messy in Russia. The French are trying to make a go at it. They're trying to be comfortable there. What they're actually doing is they're having balls. Like people are, what I mean by that is like, it's like a big party. They're having rum and punch and trying to dance and get hooked up with Russian women, right? With Russian women. They're kind of attractive if you've ever seen any for some reason, right? I don't know. I'm not disparaging the Russian people, but they have, I don't know. They're attractive women. Anyway, so the French people are hanging out with the Russians. They're trying to make a go at it at Moscow. Of course, we're returning to Moscow here. I'm going to save you from this part here. I'm going to pull this garrison out, and we're going to leave 150 here. That's one of the little ground rules for this campaign. And then we're going to be on our way home. Eventually, Napoleon decided, you know what? There's no message coming from Alexander. Also, there was a battle, I think it was called the Battle of Tarantino, where Marshal Murat actually was ambushed. He was ambushed by a very large Russian force. He was outnumbered about 4-1, and they suffered considerable losses. Now, I mentioned earlier, of course, that the French and the Russians were sort of friendly at this stage, and I want to explain that in 60 seconds. You have to remember that many people, most of the soldiers for sure, thought there was going to be peace, right? Moscow was taken. The Russians had to give peace to Napoleon, right? And that's what the average soldier thought. Hence, most of their relations was pretty good with the French. Outside that battle. And I should say that battle sort of ended the peace, right? There was this peaceful period, and then Kutuzov, Mikhail Kutuzov, and I'll start talking a little bit more about him. He basically said, you will attack them. General Bennigsen, I think, was back in the action, and they attacked Marshal Murat and caused those losses. But up until then, you have to remember, most people really did anticipate a peace. Hence, they were all sort of anticipating, hey, we can kick our feet up here. It's time to see the mistress. It's time to eat some food. This long campaign has really worn a lot of the men down, and so they anticipated a peace, and that was, of course, not to be. Now, I lost a little bit of material here. My recording wasn't quite going, and there's something that I want to do here. I want to fix our herding situation, or more accurately, we're going to continue to simulate this campaign similar to what they were dealing with as they left Moscow. They left again on around October the 18th and started to march home. About 108,000 French. That was the military force, right? They still had probably 100,000 hangers on, right? All kinds of prostitutes and wives and cooks and other people. Now, we have a herding penalty here, and I want to simulate what the French were going through, right? They were losing horses en masse. At this stage, again, as I've referenced multiple times, there's no grass, there's no fodder. The horses are being ridden into the ground, right? They're just in a terrible, terrible state. So I'm going to let go of a lot of horses here. However, that's going to decrease our capacity, just like it would in real life. And I got to dump some stuff here. But that's a lot of capacity to figure out. And it actually, you know what? This reminds me of something important. as the French left Moscow, of course, they pillaged the shit out of it. They had all kinds of goodies, all kinds of silver and pearls and you know, religious icons and whatnot. They stole, they just went crazy and pillaged everything. That's what soldiers do when they take over a city. They left food. We're going to actually symbolically make this even harder. We're going to leave more of our hard carried food on the ground here because many of the troops and soldiers and people did this, right? Instead of taking food home to France on the journey home, they kind of assumed it would be all right. And they brought home things like mink furs and stuff like that, right? So again, hindsight's 2020. We know they should have brought food. They didn't. I want to continue to simulate that. Now let's talk about Mikhail Kutuzov. At this stage, Kutuzov was firmly in charge of the Russian army. And he was, if Napoleon was a master of propaganda, Kutuzov was at least an apprentice. And what I mean by that is after the terrible Battle of Borodino, in which case the Russians were pretty thoroughly thrashed. The French most certainly won. He lied repeatedly in letters to all sorts of people. It was really kind of strange. And after, in retrospect, he wrote his wife and said, "I've defeated Napoleon." He wrote the Tsar, right? The most important person, the last person you would think you would lie to. And I think this is still the Aserai. Nobody else is at war with them. So this is for sure the Aserai sieging. That's beautiful, right? They're literally opening up a corridor here for us. It looks like they took Mekhalovia Castle. So there's some, unique elements of this campaign that are going to be different from the actual Russian campaign, but that's good, right? We don't want a fully scripted campaign. We want this to be a simulation, but not an identical repeat of what happened on it. So Kutuzov is lying. He tells the emperor, yeah, we held the ground. We held our ground. Not one Russian gave up an inch. The French fled from the battle scene. We've won, when, of course, all of this is false. The Russians left after the first day. They, for sure retreated. Not only that, but he wrote the governor, Fyodor Rostopchin, the governor of Moscow, and said, we'll come and defend Moscow. Everything's going to be fine. And he didn't do that either. So you can picture Alexander and the people in St. Petersburg. They're hearing all this news. Napoleon is, maybe captured. He might be brought here. Maybe he'll be in chains or an iron cage. They really did kind of hope and assume that the war had been won. Kutuzov was just lying through his teeth, making up shit. And then a week or two later, they started getting reports that Moscow was on fire. And Kutuzov said that, some of that stuff might not have been entirely accurate. And Alexander's response was probably something like WTF. So Kutuzov was lying too, just like Napoleon. And Vyazma we're going to siege this. Of course, this is normally, Varcheg, right? We are going to siege this because at this stage, the Napoleonic army is marching away. It's very hard conditions already. The really bad weather hasn't come yet. It's still, the end of October. In fact, a lot of the generals spoke about how beautiful it was. On this little side area, I'm leaving space so that I can post the little graphics about what the goals are for this campaign. We're required to take Vyazma as part of this campaign, right? I don't know if any armies are going to attack us, so we're going to make battle here, right? At Vyazma, there was a significant battle, and the French and Russians had a really gory battle within sort of the city walls of this town, I guess you'll call it. And things were pretty messy. So we're going to siege this and sort of simulate it. I don't know what's going to happen here, right? You got all these sturgeon forces out here. There's actually Valandians and sturgeons inside. Even though it says 2,400, I'm sure there's more than that. So there's at least some chance that they sally out here and we'll have battle right away. I intend to siege and take this city by siege, but who knows how this is, what's going to happen here. We're pretty well set up for battle here. And I should mention another battle that happened before this because it's critical to the strategy. Now, they have 3,600, but they're not yet sallying out, so it does look like we have a siege. Ira's here. This is Regea's daughter, right? And her stats are skilled up, and yeah, this is her mom, of course. She's probably trying to get revenge here. She was executed at the age of 71, and like I said, never seen before. Well, Wazuban executed her, so he's probably seen her before. And this garrison is not particularly strong. It's solid. I would say it's solid. Oh, shit. But this guy's army is juggernaut. So I'm not going to show you all the armies, but just look at this, right? This just gives you an idea of what we're dealing with still in this campaign with the Strength and AI mod. That is an incredible army. It's virtually all tier 5, 80 legionaries. That's pretty insane. So I guess we will siege here, and I'm going to do this quickly. I'm very concerned about time. I'm concerned we may be attacked by armies, just like Napoleon was dealing with. And I'm concerned that every day that we do siege here, right, I can't afford to blow a hole in the wall here because winter is coming. And like I said, I have these predetermined time checkpoints where we're going to lose food and or troops, right? We're actually going to lose both on both of them. And I can actually see the snow line moving further and further away. So quite disconcerting. I want to mention the other battle here because it's critical for the strategy. I'll try to do it here before the siege starts. We're going to build a bunch of cats and hopefully blow up the people inside here as we siege. The Battle of Slavets. I did my best, Russian friends and those historian buffs. Napoleon tactically, strategically decided we don't want to go on the same path that we came to Russia on. Why? Because it's burnt out. The Russians burnt everything. All the grass is eaten. All the towns are burned out. There's no food. You don't want to have to proceed on the same route. So he decided to try to take a different route to the south. Well, the Russians were aware of this, and they, of course, wanted to force him to go on the same route. And so they blocked the road and made a very staunch defense. I don't know the actual, it might be a town called Yaroslavets. That's what the battle is called, and the Russians did quite well. Now, the French did well, they weren't crushed at Yaroslavets. They had their main army. However, Napoleon did not think it was a good idea to commit to a huge battle. He was also a little bit confused about the size of the Russian force. Attack this fucking fire catapult. It's so frustrating. He's just bombing our units, and they're hitting the wall. Nothing you can do about that. But so Napoleon lost this battle, or at least it was a stalemate at best for the French. And he said, you know what? We're going to have to go north. Cranyrog is being defended. What's this shit? Oh, shit. You know what this is? This is the Valandians attacking whatever asteroid force is there. So those guys are fucked. The Valandians are getting swarmed. So there's your enemies, right? They're nearby. They're south. That puts even more urgency on me getting into the city and taking it down. But just to finish that point, it's critical for you to understand that the Russians were now committed, and they wanted essentially to do raised ground tactics and starve out the French, right? They were essentially forcing the French to go back on the same route that they had came to Moscow, and that had tremendous consequences. So this city, the conditions of the siege are favorable. So in we go here. Of course, normal player damage this whole series. We're not going to make things, well, I guess it is the maximum difficulty, but we're certainly not going to make it easier somehow. Now, I intentionally didn't build siege towers so I could pound them with catapults, right? We are going to launch some fire catapults up in here. I'm going to have 2 concerted attacks, try to get up on these walls, make a puncture into the city, and then move on. Now, every single one of these battles we could lose. And this will effectively end. I really hope that doesn't happen. I'm pretty confident we can win here. We have a very strong army. They're going to have militia. They're going to have some weaker troops, although they obviously have a very strong force defending. And we're outnumbered, right? They have 50% more troops defending than we have attacking. That's normally a non-starter in Bannerlord. But of course, when you have a very powerful leader like this, Wazuban with his medical skills, and his companions, right? We have 2 companions in this army that have 300 plus medicine skill. One of them's, what's her name? Zahara, the spice vendor. She's actually a player clan leader. We're no longer in control of her, but she's with us. She's got an army. And then the other one, of course, is Talia Willowbark. We're going to call her the mistress of Wazuban. She's kind of a nice looking, healing, Irish lady. All right, so I'm trying to divide some captains here because this is going to be a difficult siege. So just bear with me here as I look for a couple more. I'd like some that have decreased take and melee attack damage. Of course, Wazuban will lead the 8th Corps, and I'm going to make the 8th Corps reserve unit for this siege, right? To limit death, we're going to have the 8th Corps come in later into this siege. We will start with the main divisions, the infantry division. The reason I say to limit death, of course, is because we have the death for all mod cranked up as well. We just have like every single conceivable difficulty, plus a bunch of artificial ones pegged to the max. And that's because on some level, I'm trying to make the game win here. I'm trying to allow the game some kind of conditions where our army is stopped, because under normal game mechanics, this army is just not going to get stopped, right? It's going to smash everything in its sight completely to pieces. So I'm going to have two different wings here. Let's do the 5th and the 6th on the right, and the 2nd and the 2nd and the, let's see, the 2nd and the 4th on the right, and the 5th and the 6th on the, yeah, I'm getting my sides confused. We'll stick to 8th in the back, hold them. So we'll do the 2nd and the 4th over here on the right. I'll show you once we bring them up. Basically, what I have is an infantry division of very strong infantry, all these guys here, and then they will have a support division of skirmishers, archers, and infantry to plow their way up onto these ladders. So the 2nd and the 4th over here. On the other side, we will put the 5th and the 6th. Now, I have an auxiliary archer unit. We'll leave units on the ram, of course. You don't want to fuck with the ram units. If you can, leave those guys there. That way they, if you fuck with them, they don't really push the front door down very well. I want those guys to knock the door down. Now we're going to find ourselves a little catapult here. Let's get the 5th and 6th set up first. Got some archers shooting here. It's good. The 5th and 6th basically is going to hold this right side. These guys here are going to apply pressure on this side, and we will look for targets like this. Look at this fucking juicy thing here. So let's put the 7th Corps right here. These guys are incredibly vulnerable. I guess the siege weapons have destroyed the walls over here, and these infantry are just going to be fucking fish in a barrel to our archers. Of course, they have shields. They're not going to be just killed instantly, but they're certainly vulnerable. And they're vulnerable to that too, right? Kaboom, a huge fucking catapult shot. Nice job there, fellas, ladies, fellas. But I want some action on the catapult here. So we're going to find this catapult. We're going to observe our men, and then we're going to launch some hell and brimstones, fire and brimstones here on the enemy, and add to the carnage. Now, that was also a good shot. Sometimes these guys do a great job, and sometimes they scorch all your troops, which actually is pretty close to what I do. I'm not great at a catapult. I'm slowly getting better. Maybe by the very end of like my playing of Bannerlord, I'll be good at it. You see, I killed about half of our troops, but that's okay, right? You know, we're dialing it in right now. I got Doofus over here, doesn't know where to go. Figure it out, dude. Trying to cause some death and destruction here. So we recalibrate and we'll shoot a little bit further. Okay, that's better. It's about a 2-to-1 kill ratio. Obviously, the intention is to kill mostly the enemy. That was the epiphany of the episode. And there you go, right? Kaboom, that's like 10 guys down. We did a bunch of damage. We're damaging the wall, right? I can see one of the pieces of the wall's gone there now. That's going to mean all those archers and skirmishers can rain hell. And now we have it dialed in, and it's just death to the enemy. They're rapidly going up there, just maniacally trying to stop us, and we got a couple more of our troops, but that's a risk I was willing to take, right? If we can punch a hole on one of these sides, I'll probably chuck a few in on the other side there, then we can really make some hay in this siege assault. Now, this whole campaign is really a campaign of a war of attrition, right? True campaigns were almost always wars of attrition. Wow, look at that shot, right? The whole fucking screen, kaboom, and our guys must be making hay, right? I can actually see the enemy parting. It almost looks like they ran from the fireball there, but it's working, right? We've dialed in this catapult now, and once you dial it in, it's just little tiny, very slight adjustments to as I missed completely, to work. A lot of the guys are killed there. Actually, let's try the other side here. There's a bunch of guys piled up on these ladders. Can't really see. Sometimes you can really tell if the enemy is, holding their shields up. It's like a telltale sign. Other times you're just kind of flinging fire out there and hoping it doesn't kill mostly your troops. The other reason I've learned to do this in huge siege battles is that I simply don't survive. There's so much maelstrom and archers and javelins being chucked at the guys going up the walls. Like you, if you play Bannerlord and you do siege assault, like a lot of guys, I would charge up there with my men like 30 seconds after the siege started and just fight our way through. You know, if you're doing a siege against 500 defenders, you can pull that off. Against 3,600, it's a whole different animal, right? You've got to expect many, like 6, 7, 8, 10 waves of elite troops of enemy forces trying to resist you, and you just don't want to be, boom, one final great shot. You don't want to be the first guy over the wall, right? You're just going to get smoked. So this sort of buys us some time. And of course it allows me to let some of the other guys get killed first, right? We're gonna, and of course obviously any true general would not be charging up the ladders. There's that ghastly scene in the Siege of Toulon. Actually, you know, let me take that back. The Siege of Toulon with Napoleon in the movie by Ridley Scott, it shows him like charging up a ladder like he's a shock troop or something like that. I don't want to say that's wholly inaccurate, because Napoleon was injured and he did lead one of the charges at the Battle of Toulon. At the Toulon, that was one of his first famous battles. The movie makes it look like he's fucking Schwarzenegger, right? Get to the ladders now, right? He just totally charges up and wins the day, stabbing guys. The whole movie, he's riding on a horse, just cutting guys down. None of this is... Most of that shit is not accurate, but I guess I'll say at Toulon there was a little bit of that. Napoleon was actually badly injured by a guy who stabbed him in the thigh. He survived that, and of course once you start promoting, you're done doing that shit. What do we got going on here? Okay, they have tons of defenders here. I don't see a deep tranche behind them though. Let's take a peek here. Of course, Castle Siege, you're always exploring for a little tiny opening. It doesn't look like much one there. All you see is spears, although over there I do. I don't know if you guys saw that to the left. Let's go. 1st Division, 5th. Let's get the 1st, 4th, 5th, 8th. Let's just bring in several units, including the 2nd Archers, and try to puncture this left side. They have archers here, but there's no infantry. We can bring guys in here. Come on, boys. Let's bring them in a square. I'm going to bring in archers. We're basically going to puncture a hole for these troops to get in here. We're going to block the squares. That way all our archers don't get scorched. And they're taking forever to get in here. In fact, I'm in a very bad spot. Right now, I look like an asshole. I'm narrating this very advanced plan that's not working at all. And now I'm like hiding. Come on, boys. Get the fuck in here. Here we go. All right. Make a square. The square does usually a pretty good job of shoving their way in, right? They'll go to where you want them to. And now we can fight for a puncture here, right? Now we're going to fight for it. I got enough troops here that we're going to try to fucking make a hole, and I'm going to try to get troops around the corner because they'll have a little bit of protection from all the archers in this courtyard. The 2nd Corps is here. Come on, boys. I want that square actually right in the face of the enemy archers there. That way they don't shoot. They're dealing with some guy with a fucking shield in their face, right? Suddenly those archers will attack them instead of shooting our troops. We've got some openings here for sure. Obviously, this is a very risky maneuver, but I like to show these advanced tactics in Siege, and if this works, it's going to work very, very well. So I got a little opening here we can spread. I want an archer corps eventually on the walls, but not yet, right? I want some archers on the ground level here. In fact, I need more infantry in here. It's very messy right now. The guys are pushing their way in, but of course the enemy has a massive amount of troops here, and they're trying to stop us. I'm getting a shot. This is where that decreased ranged attack damage banner really helps. And of course, we're wearing lots and lots of masterwork and legendary gear. All right, the archers are clear. Start shooting. Let's get the 2nd and the 3rd Division in here. For now, we'll just position all of the archers in the courtyard here and continue to shove that square across like a big fucking wall. I want the enemy troops to actually obscure the enemy's archers from shooting our archers, right? We're usually basically using the enemy's troops here to get our archers into this citadel. These guys should start shooting soon and scorching the guys on the walls. These poor infantrymen are trying to guard the other side. Now they're going to have archers shooting them in the back. Okay, we've got a zerg of guys here. This is going to work. Let's do some general charges here. The 2nd and 3rd are really clogged up. We've got an infantry division here. I guess we could shove them at the archers. This big infantry division, let's just shove these guys right at the archers. Just a line of fucking shock troops and elite warriors. Let's kill these bitches. Come on, boys. I'm with you. It's fucking glorious, man. This game is so fucking fun when things work out right. When you got a plan and it works out, it's, oh shit, tons of fucking reinforcements just poured in. These archers should support, but this is fucking getting messy. They still got archers shooting here. Oh, there's a lord. Let's have a duel, bitch. My axe is longer than yours. This is fucking sweet. Oh shit. Kill this bitch. I don't know, she might one-shot me. Never mind, down she goes. All right. I can't get too excited here. I got to focus on the tactics. Sometimes your ego gets the better of you. Let's get these infantrymen charging. I got to get these archers a better line of sight. So eventually we'll start using those walls. There's a general scrum at the gate. I got to make sure enough of our troops can get through that gate, right? We need the gate to be busted open. If it's not, we can't get reinforcements very fast. It looks like it's working, sort of. I've got a fuck ton of archers in here, though. Man, did we get a bunch in. That was fucking beautiful. We just snaked them around the corner. Now let's start using their own ramparts. Hey there, fucking legionnaire. I got a boot for your face. Kill that guy. He'll kick you right off the wall there, fucking cataphract. All right, they've got some troops defending over here, but let's get archers here. Eventually, I'll get an infantry block. That way we can block all these infantrymen from stopping our archers. I've got 10 javelins left. That's going to help. I can just smoke all the... This is why when guys are like, why do you prefer javelins over arrows? This is why. I've got elite infantry heading my way, and I can just kill them by myself. Oh, shit. My kicks need a little bit of work. Okay, they've got too many troops down there for us to confront them for now. But let's get these archers spread out down there. They will support us up here. I've got a fucking maelstrom of archers up here. I've got to get these guys spread out. Let's see. We can do one more division. Spread it out. I mean, they're going to get attacked, but that's okay. At least we've got support here. Don't forget the enemy's being shot from the other side. I'm talking fast because this is a tense moment in this siege. Now, the death spam, look at the death spam. That looks great, right? And we're killing good troops, right? This enemy has elite troops. Oh, shit. I get cut off here from my troops as their forces push in. The AI is actually doing a pretty good job trying to stop us here. I got archers fighting hand to hand, which isn't great. Down there, it's a scrum. Reinforcements are constantly coming in. I got to find more angles where we can get tactical advantages. This is kind of nice. I got a bunch of archers in here basically as a fallback spot. The guys are coming up. Oh, shit. That's where their troops are. They've got a big tranche of archers down there. So we're just going to stay to this left side of the city. The enemy has tons of elite archers on the other side of the city and none over here. So here's our puncture point. These reinforcements, we can either get them up the ladder or we can get them through the main gate. Thank goodness we get a good fucking battle here. Right, obviously this campaign, I don't know how it's going to go. I don't know if there's going to be good battles or just kind of blowout battles or whatever. So hopefully the AI continues to do a good job of making challenges for us to work our way through. And talk about a challenge, right? 3,600 defenders in a total chaotic scrum. All right, now we got some infantry in here. Backdoor these bitches. Oops, sorry, bud. You look like the enemy. All right, a little bit of javelin work here. Smoke a few of these guys attacking our guys trying to hold the fucking walls. Let's clear this fucking ladderway so that our reinforcements can pour up. Oh, shit. The enemy just poured archers in. All right, the 4th and 5th Corps just charge. That's all we can do. These infantry, though, are going to help. Let's get the last few defenders off of this ladder. Of course, there's only one ladder because these stupid mouth-breathing motherfuckers. I wish I had a grenade I could chuck down there and cause a bunch of shrapnel injuries to kill the stupid ones. All right, let's get... can we get some archers? The problem is you just saw a bunch of archers pull by here. That means the enemy has a spawn point up here. That's not good for us. But if we get archers spread out, at least they'll be able to slow it down, right? Whatever archers come out at us, we'll have some of our troops in their face, right? All right, let's continue to push in infantry here. I'm getting reinforcements in gigantic tranches. Of course, we have the battle size mod, right? So the enemy has like 15 or 1,300 troops on the field. We have like 800, right? They have more troops than us, and of course the battle size mod gives... I can't move. I'm getting fucking pushed up here like a mob again at Black Friday shopping. I'm like, I just trying to leave the store, man. I was just trying to pick up some fucking milk for the wife, and you fucks are pushing me towards the VCRs and shit on sale. This shit's outdated. Get a fucking I was gonna say a Blu-ray player. Man, am I old. You guys are like, Blu-ray player? Man, what an old guy. I can't believe I'm watching an old guy on YouTube. All right, yeah, they got way too many troops over here for us to confront this with archers. We will be destroyed. So we're not going to be able to do anything on this right side. We'll call it the right side. But we do have them hemmed up like cattle. Look at them trying to move around. They don't have anything to shoot at, and they are hemmed in. The gate, the gate is flooding open with our troops. We could try to get some of our guys here, but they're probably going to get smoked. I guess we'll just apply as much pressure as we can. Most of them they're archers. I think they're trying to reposition because they really do look like fucking pigs getting slaughtered, right? They're packed up. They're terrified. I actually saw, I don't know if you guys saw it, but a few of them were peeing themselves. It looks like a bad scene for the enemy. Our guys are mauling them there. We've got this shit. Not only do we have this shit, this was a decimation. Let's get forces spread out here because they're going to keep getting reinforcement waves, right? We basically want to have troops ready to be the greeter, right? You guys have seen the Walmart greeter where they're like, welcome to Walmart. They give some guy a job where all he does is say that 12,000 times a day. Apologies if that's your job, right? I guess that's a nice thing, right? You're being friendly to people, so be it. But these guys are going to be the not-so-welcoming party. Look at this guy's war paint. They're going to be the not-so-welcoming party to these sturgeon reinforcements. Just boring in. I'm starting to see recruits. That might mean the siege is... That does mean the siege is over. God, we have butchered this sturgeon force. 3,600 sturgeons just collapsed like the fucking tech bubble in 98. I want some action here, flying in like Conan. I still have half my health bar. That's how well we've navigated this huge siege, and what a zerg of troops we have in here, right? I mean, we have a huge army too, but we just destroyed an even bigger army, and what a massacre, right? With all the fucking snow and the blood and body parts everywhere. Victory is sweet. War is hell unless it's a video game, right? And then it's fucking ecstasy. Look at this shit. Look at this carnage with the this is with the dismemberment mod. There's literally heads laying all over the snowy courtyard here. That blood really pops with the snow, right? This is people's life force just being put onto the ground here. The crops are going to grow well. There's arms and heads just laying everywhere, and our army celebrates. A huge successful victory for us here. Not just at one of the checklists, but very successful, right? Motherfucker. I was just mentioning her. We lost. How come the enemy doesn't have any nobles dying? It's only our troops. That's actually a pretty big loss. Amongst all the celebration, you can almost tell in my voice. Like that's a big loss for us because all of her troops are elite on the battlefield, and we no longer have her. I think her army. I'm not sure what's going to happen. Maybe her army will go to the city. Either way, that's a huge loss for us. But that was an incredibly successful siege, and it's going to allow us to continue this challenge, right? We're going to put our normal garrison of 150, and of course the troops dump 10,000 troops. Nothing real interesting for loot. They dumped like 10,000 troops. Here, we can put this on. Now he looks like an absolute fucking garage sale mishmash of armor. Oh well, he's protected. But your troops dump a bunch of guys in the garrison, and I'm going to have to go in there, micromanage that, and pull the best ones out, and we will leave 150, and then we will be on our way, right, trying to get the fuck out of Russia. All right, and we will leave, let's see, 90, 60. We will leave 90 in the garrison here because Zahara, the Spice Vendor's army, is in the city, the Young Guard at the bottom there. And that fulfills our requirements of leaving 150 garrisons at each of these challenges. So the successful battle at Vyazma, even though it was messy for both Napoleon and our army, although that was certainly we did very well there, all things considered. Now I want to continue to talk about the route we're taking out of Russia during this retreat. And I also want to talk about the changing weather, right? At this stage, the weather is really starting to change, and I'll get back to that in a minute. First, let's talk about our route, right? We are trying, of course, to get back to Paris. At this stage, Napoleon and his whole army are no longer thinking about successful military battles. They are thinking about survival, right? Let's cross the hundreds of miles. I think Paris is 1,500 or 1,400 miles from Russia. It's an incredibly long way to go on foot or even on horseback. Now these checkpoints, we are going to siege Krasny, which is Epicrotia, of course, from the vanilla game, and pass our way through this narrow valley, threatened by enemies the whole way. The Battanians will be in here, the Western Empire will be in here, simulating the Russian and the Cossacks and General Platov and whatnot as we try to get to Borisov and the Beresina River, right? We've got to cross that final river to effectively complete this challenge. In addition, we must siege Borisov, and that's going to be hell. Right here at the Beresina River, there was a historical battle, and the Battanians, this is their last stronghold, so it's going to be swarming with angry, green-looking Russian troops. Right? Of course, all of this is a simulation. Man, look at this fucking fog bank here. The weather continues to play an impact in this. And, you know, the weather, I should mention. I'm trying to do the little updates at the bottom here. But right around this time, right around the Battle of Vyazma, the weather changed dramatically. From really nice days where some of the officers would say they saw sunshine and 40 degrees Fahrenheit and pansies blooming in the field. Just beautiful scenes and landscapes. All of a sudden there was a cold snap, a heavy snowfall, and then a brutal cold front set in. That was something close to 0 degrees Fahrenheit. And you have to remember many of the troops had neglected winter clothing because they wanted to carry more loot out of Moscow. So food is becoming an issue. Clothing is definitely becoming an issue. And this Napoleonic army is starting to suffer from the Russian winter. Right? It's only the early November, but it's already pretty severe. There's a heavy snowfall. Again, many of the troops either had no shelter at all or just a very basic tent that, of course, would cave in with the snow and you'd be cold. And things were generally quite miserable. Now I'm going to try to follow all these towns because, again, every 7 days we are suffering desertion. It's a self-made desertion here. What the fuck is going on here? Cranirog is being defended. Those are all Valandian forces. Okay, so the Aserai, I think the Aserai were sieging here at Cranirog, and it looks like the Valandians are making their defense. That's bad, because that means the Valandians are going to be also swarming our retreat path here. So they're only at war. Yeah, they're only at war with us, our good friend Guzid here. Which means that the Aserai for sure is sieging there. And of course, he has a reputation of being aggressive and asks for much, right? He's just going crazy like normal. And he is here. He is at Cranirog. So we're going to rescue Guzid here. This is not the route I intended. I was going to go along all these towns and order them to give us troops. Because, of course, we're suffering desertion regardless of how much food we give our troops at this stage, right? Troops are cold. They're going to villages and saying, hey, would you let me in for the night? Some of them are just flat out leaving, right? They're heading any way they can to Paris, and they're being cut down by the Cossacks, right? The Cossacks, these light cavalrymen, they're unaffected by the cold, right? These guys are Russians. These guys are tough. I don't want to say unaffected, but they're certainly more acclimated than the French. So there is a juggernaut amount of Valandians here, and we are going to fight here, but I'm trying to configure our armies here. She heals for some reason faster than Wazuban, even though Wazuban has a higher medicine skill. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to give her more injured troops, and then give Wazuban some of her healthy troops, because of course he gives his troops more hit points than she does, right? She has 310 medicine skill. Wazuban gives his troops an additional 20 hit points at least, right? Probably more than that because of all the other perks he has. I've never added it up, but I would assume they have 200 hit points or more. I see more Valandian armies smashing their way into this Aserai force. The Aserai force actually looks large, so this is the makings of a very large battle, and perfect, right? I couldn't have scripted it any better. I was hoping, of course, to have a battle at Krasny. We will just, I don't know, we'll call this the Battle of Krasny or something else, right? We're going to have a battle here, though obviously this campaign is not identical in many ways to the Napoleonic campaign, but we're going to interfere. Of course, if we can make it, we're trudging our way there. The garrison is sallied out, I think. Can't quite tell what's going on. I actually can't tell how many Valandians are here. They're in a big, giant stack. They look like some kind of demonic being there with like 25 units all swinging their swords. We're still banged up, of course, from Vyazma, but we're going to intervene here. I mean, I guess unless this is like 10,000, how could it be? It can't be that many. Well, I guess I better not say that. What do you got, Guzid? All right, he is in real trouble here. And these are some of the biggest names in Valandia, right? They don't have a big army here, as far as I can tell, but they have a bunch of smaller armies that effectively decided to all... we've all been there. You're sieging a castle, and the enemy brings in all these smaller armies, and once they have enough to destroy you, they attack. That's what's occurring here. We're going to join. Now, I need my Rumfii, right? We are horse-killing Rumfii. We've got our shield, so we're pretty well protected, and I want to change something for this battle. I've noticed that the Rumfii is kind of a long, fast weapon, Well, I want a short, even faster weapon for hand-to-hand. So believe it or not, I'm actually going to take off this tier 5 axe or whatever it is. It's a very nice axe, and we are going to use, if I can find it, we're going to use this sledgehammer. I know that seems like an insane decision. However, in between some of these episodes, right, we are doing a couple of different side series where I'm using a hammer, and I'm very comfortable with it. This is just an ordinary tier 4 hammer, but with, 300 two-handed skill, I think we can make it work. All right, again, the proverbial deep breath. Every single one of these battles could be the end of this campaign. I'm not save scumming for these, right? I want to make that clear. If we lose or Wazuban gets killed, I was going to say if Guzi gets killed. God damn it, they've dropped us in here again. So I need 30 seconds here. I'm not going to be able to narrate. I got to switch the 4th to the 7th, the 2nd to the 4th, and the 5th. Let's get 3 cav waves. I think we'll try a pillar defense here with 2 different cav squares. So 2nd, 3rd, and let's... Oh, god damn it, I just mixed a bunch of divisions in the 2nd. Fuck. And this is where you wish you could save scum, right? This is how you know I'm not save scumming, if I'm fumbling left and right. All right, let's put a big... it's a messy line there of the 2nd Corps, the 3rd Corps, and the 8th Corps over here on the other flank. Horse archers and the 6 skirmishers up on this little shelf. And of course, we're fighting with the Aserai here, and who knows what they're going to do, right? You can't count on your companion armies, or at least you can't count on the AI armies to do anything brilliant, right? They're meat shields at best here. So we're gonna shift on the fly here and try to come up with a plan. For sure, we're gonna try a pillar defense because we have a decent amount of archers and they have massive amounts of heavy cavalry. I'll explain that once we start enacting it. As this horde of Valandians. These are actually all Aserai. There's a fair bit of Aserai forces here, but again, unfortunately, since they won't coordinate with you, they're almost a hindrance here. We're going to form defensive lines while they throw themselves at the enemy, and hopefully that buys us a little bit of time here to make our formations and come up with a nice plan. I've got that ridge behind us we can retreat to, a little bit of a peekaboo ridge, although the angles aren't terrific. And of course, we're going to hack down everybody we can here with our fast pull arm. I've got 4 cav divisions effectively, although this one is just a horse archer division. It looks like there's 8 to 10 Khans guards there. We've got some javelins. We've got a nice mix of weapons. I'm going to continue to play sort of defensive here and watch what the enemy does. Fuckers. They're all blocking. Every single fuck blocks everything. Fuck you guys. But look at this pole arm. Look how fast it swings, right? This lord is just scorched. Kill this fucking guy. Oh, fuck. I see tons of death spam. I'm hoping that's the Valandians. I don't think I have any units that are in there, right? But you never know, right? Sometimes, well, with this many Valandian forces, you're going to suffer losses too. Now, we've got the 1st Division here we can charge with, right? These guys can get aggressive. We've got these 2 different horse divisions, but after this counter charge here, we're going to form these guys into a pillar defense. Got a moment here just to talk about it. Nice little death spam there as our guys charge, right? A little counter charge. That was positive results. So pillar defense. Pillar defense usually is for a castle. It will work against a massive amount of cavalry here. You're using 2 giant blocks of squares of cavalry. At least 30, 40 each. And we're going to then funnel the enemy between them and set up archers right here, actually. This is a beautiful looking bank. So 2nd Corps, let's see, the 2nd Corps is mixed with archers. That's highly suboptimal. That was a snafu, right? I just fucked it up. We're going to try to work around that. I have the 3rd and the 8th, so we can use, normally the 8th is our elite unit. Because it didn't allow me to set my units here, who knows what's in there. It's fucking jumping fucking kill on that motherfucker. Let's set the 2nd Division. God damn it. We got speared. Things are just not going well. Can't tell what's happening. They're just yelling and screaming. Let's try to get a few more archers here at the funnel point, and we're going to get these cav units in a square, right? The idea is you set up squares on both sides, create a small area in the middle. It's a little bit of a variation on a false gap, right? A false gap is an infantry tactic. Here, we're trying to create essentially a death funnel. This is something I covered on the channel before, but I have so many different tactics, I don't use it very often. Against, fuck you, die, this guy's yelling at me. Against so many cavalry here and such a massive force of Valandians, I think it makes sense. So the death spam looks good. We've got a nice square on the left here. We can charge with the 6th and 1st. Every time the enemy kind of surges in, we're going to counter charge. and start to form these squares. Now, their initial wave is all cavalry, right? They're eventually going to have archers and infantry and stuff like that, and we'll have to come up with a plan to deal with that, right? We're outnumbered here by about 1,500 troops. The arrows are raining in. It's good. Let's start honing in this death funnel, right? We're going to basically put these two different cav divisions about 60 yards apart, 60 meters apart if you like meters. And then we're going to funnel the enemy through there with a cav division to attack in case they charge the center, and infantry to support as well. I know I've been talking 150 miles an hour. That's because it just threw us into this battle. Again, they don't give us any time to specialize our units. I don't have a shock troop division. I've got fucking archers mixed with cavalry, but look at that death spam, right? It's starting to work, and that is your funnel already. You can actually see the enemies as swarming the squares, and as they do so, they get scorched with arrows. All those guys there are just attacking our camels and whatnot. Now we can use the 8th Division to come in behind them here, just like me, and cut these insolent Valandians down. I really do hate Valandia in this campaign. I mean, I've developed a grudge. They've been kicking our ass since the beginning. Holy shit, what the fuck is that? That is a massive amount of archers and crossbow. We may have to pull back here. A lot of our archers are running out of ammo. I don't think we can withstand that kind of... Is that 400? It is. It's fucking 400 and something archers back there. So let's peel back behind this ridge. A little bit of protection here. We will use cavalry here to back out. Just like Marshal Murat screening for the Napoleonic army, we're going to use this 3rd cav now in a new formation, right? A shield wall, so that we attract some attention with that for the enemy archers, and we get our troops the fuck out of here. Of course, we're trying to intercept cavalry too, and all these fucking jab cav. I heard this guy just kill one of our troops. Fucking avenge him with that beheading. All right, let's get a troop set back here. The 2nd corps coming in. It's a mix of cav and archers. That's fine. The enemy is, of course, causing a lot of death on the way out, but you could see this like an investment, right? It's painful initially. All the money is just going into a make-believe account. You don't get to see it, but eventually this is going to pay dividends, and I think this will help us, I was going to say turn the tide. I don't know. We should see. This battle looks really rough at this stage, right? We're thrown into battle. I've already misclicked a unit. We're downhill in a terrible position. I don't have any shock troops. I'm feeling very uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable. Of course, if we lose here, this will just be it, right? We'll fucking call this campaign complete, and I don't consider it a failure. You know, I have to be prepared for this fact, right? But fuck that, right? We're gonna fight to the very death here. At a minimum, we're gonna make this a great battle. Our troops are coming in here kind of clumsily. Enemy cavalry's kind of rushing through here, but the advantage of this ridge is simple, right? Their archers have to come over it to shoot. In fact, a lot of them are running up here to shoot. We can remove a few heads here. And what we're going to do here is not a peekaboo ridge because we don't have enough ammo. We are going to do a peekaboo rush, right? The peekaboo ridge is where you set up archers below and pound them as they come over the ridge. We don't have enough guys that can shoot. We have some guys that can shoot, but also we have lousy angles here. This is a very subpar location for a peekaboo ridge, so we're going to do a blitz, right? We're going to set up infantry lines here. Let's try to get a 2nd infantry line for flanking here. The 6th, we'll pull it up on the enemy's left. We're going to set up cav and a shield wall with infantry behind it. I'm going to try to get some archers also to this flank. We're going to need some protection here as the enemy attacks our position, but here's what we're going to do, right? They have tons of archers. Well, we don't. We have lots of shock troops. We're going to wait until they're sort of coming over that ridge to get line of sight, and then an all charge. And I truly mean a mouth-breathing F1, F3 charge. Everybody holding fire. Every single archer and fucking militiamen and whatever. We don't have militia, but you get the idea. Everybody charging. That way, every single one of those crossbow has a guy in his face. They won't be able to shoot, and hopefully our superior infantry will win the day. Now, I've got to be patient in the early on here, right? I want them to continue to march our direction, right? It's painful because we're suffering losses, although some archers, god damn it, fucking gravity, Wazuban and his heirs have problems with gravity. But we are getting some archer kills as they come over that ridge. And now their infantry, it sounds like, is meeting with our cavalry here. Our cavalry and infantry. It's getting fucking bloody. Let's start moving these guys forward. I think this is the time. And this is a situation where I'm better off on foot, right? Our troops are fighting on foot. I've got this incredibly fast hammer. On horse, I'm an incredibly easy target for archers. On foot, it's mauling time, right? I've got the fastest fucking hammer swing on the battlefield. Let's do this. Plus, you got to admit it's more fun, right? Let's get in here and fucking wage war with our friends. These are the guys we've been playing this campaign with now for 3.5 months. So we're going to fucking roar in here. Look at all these archers, right? They're about to have shock troops right in their face. You see they're not shooting very much because they don't have line of sight. And here comes our infantry, right? Cavalry's rushing in. Now all our archers come up, and they're not great at melee, but if they're all swinging their weapon, advantage us, right? That means we're going to have all of these troops up here brawling. And to be honest, this is kind of a blunt force strategy, right? I don't have a lot of options here. If I try to set up archers too early, they'll get scorched. So we're going to try to overcome this force by raw power, right? We definitely have the advantage of infantry, so it's a rock, paper, scissors situation. We're trying to use the very small advantages that we have here. Now I can get archers set up on the enemy's right flank. We can get some archers heading that direction, but if they're getting shot too bad, they'll have to charge, right? We'll have to see what it looks like over here. If the enemy's shooting at these guys, they'll have to charge. It does look like they're shooting. Oh, fuckers. All right, so let's charge these archers up here. These archers just became shock troops. Up we go. You can't back out of this strategy. Once you start it, you just get annihilated. And so we're committed to this rush. I just got a little tiny fucking bit emotional. You can't help it in battles like this. Motherfuckers, there's a lot of death spam as I send these guys to their death, but we've got to get troops on these archers, right? We've got to push through this, get our swords to their faces. Once we close, it should get a little bit better. And now it's time to win the day with fucking melee. Mostly archers attacking us. Fuck you, Hollandia. God, it's bloody. I'm hoping our extra hit point units pay dividends here, right? We've got 2 different armies that have extra hit points. We lost Sahara the Spice Vendor, but we still have Talia Willowbark. And of course, Wazuban's troops are extra tough. God damn it, I just took a spear to the fucking side. Almost dead. We're not giving up though, fuck it. I'm not gonna stop fighting either. Fuck you guys, I got the fastest hammer out here. You keep trying to swing, motherfucker. I'll kill all of you. These fucking guys are trying to impinge on our flank here. Of course, the enemy has elite units just up and down their whole fucking army. We're getting medieval on their asses. Yeah, come get some. Keep on fucking parrying, dipshit. I think we're winning, but I can't tell. It's a maelstrom. Of course, I'm not on horse anymore. I'll grab a horse at some point, but not for a bit, right? I don't have much health. A single arrow shot will drop me at this stage. All right. Cav coming up. More like camelry's coming up. We love it. Nice big targets for their archers. That means their archers will have a big giant fucking camel in their face instead of shooting at our units. Let's start swinging on this right flank. The enemy's left flank, we've got elevation there. So if I get archers and skirmishers up on this snowbank, they can support the infantry, and we can start to really make some hay on their archers. But we've got to keep cav wall lines in the archer's face. So it's a very delicate balance here. Advancing, but making sure that we've got cav and an infantry division out here supporting the archers, giving the enemy archers something to deal with here. They're fucking shooting left and right. They've got a big line of archers as far as the horizon expands. I'm going to stay towards the center of the army here because that's where I'm safest, right? I'm least likely to get shot or catch a random spear from a cavalryman. Most of the units are stood up here, right? And that means they're dead when it comes to fucking Wazuban's hammer. His hammer, when it's just some random hammer, right? This is not like a crafted hammer. I wish I had a crafted hammer. I see Aserai forces here. This is the time to push. Let's get archers spread out on the side. The 6th Corps here. Let's get it set up on the enemy's left. Once those guys are spread out a little bit, we'll have those guys bore in. Cavalry lines moving to the front to push a path. It's basically shield, shock, and spray because we're getting archers set up. And I see arrows now raining in over our right shoulder. That means those units are getting into position, starting to shoot. Just going to fight as long as he's up, right? I mean, he's going to go down eventually here, but we're going to do whatever we can. And this is safer. If I was on horse, I'd be down for sure, right? Sometimes you get on foot and it's worse. This is definitely better. Nobody could shoot me. There's all these cavalry in the way, ours and theirs, and I'm just smashing everything repeatedly. I feel like a blacksmith with my hammer here. I'm going to stay with my hammer. This thing's just so fast, and it's killing guys still, right? It's not doing massive damage, but it is effective. A little bit of jumps occasionally. And I like what I see. It's very close still, but I like what I see. Let's continue to move up archers on our right flank here and continue to push cav. That's one of the biggest important things in this strategy. See all these camels? Those guys are going to shot. Don't tell them, but those guys are going to get shot instead of us. We're using all of our fucking forces here, even if it's sacrificial. We're going on a rampage here with our hammer as we continue to push our infantry lines in, and they're protected. We've got all of these camels. Let's continue to move them forward, and everything that's behind them, we're just going to butcher. Archers are going to cut them apart. Infantry's cutting everything apart. What an epic battle. It's just carnage. Camels are running up left and right. There's infantry fucking scrumming with archers. Crossbow everywhere. I should have said earlier, strap yourself in. This is going to be a doozy. Horses are dying. Man, how many epic battles have we had in this campaign? I can't even tell you how amazing this has been. The game has cooperated here, and look at this fucking amazing battle. I can't help it, man. I get a little emotional. You just like, you know, the same way like in a powerful movie, you just start to feel like it's real, like there are real stakes involved. This game does such a good job of just putting you right in the action. There's camels dying all over the place. Guys are roaring. It's snowing. There's arrows flying everywhere. I've got a tiny sliver of health. It's fucking ecstasy. Now, they have archers there, so we got to continue to push up cav. You see me doing that over and over again, and thank goodness I have a shield, right? That shield has protected me a bunch. Get off your horse. Look at all these big camels. Just in the way, right? And it's fucking with their archers. You're fucking destroyed, dude. Let's continue to shove the camels. Keep our shield out here. The archers and infantry are moving in behind me. I've got fucking more. God damn, the enemy has non-stop fucking high-level archers and crossbow. Get off. This guy's all over our guys here. I'm gonna get dropped here soon. Let's get out of here. Let's grab a horse. That was a good period on foot. Now let's see if we can't do some positive tactics. Generally, I fight better on foot and do better tactics on horse because you can see everything, right? Now I just got to avoid a random spear here, set up infantry lines, set up archer lines here onto this hillside, and see if we can't push forward in. Now we're moving further and further away from our reinforcement spot, but I'm committed at this stage. I don't know how many reinforcement waves we're going to have. It's a good sign. There's still a bunch of guys running up, and they're tier 3, tier 4 still, so we're not down to the dreadful units yet. We might even have some tier 5 left, right? I see Palatine guards maybe in here. And we're going to try to take this hillside here. I've got a couple different cav lines we'll set up here, the 3rd and the 7th. We're going to basically give these archers protection, a smelly camel in the face of the enemy until our archers get set up. Then we will push them in. Okay, you can charge there, dude. Poor guy's just standing there on his own. And we're going to try to give support to these archers, right? Basically protect them until they can set up. I have 0 health. I just looked down. I don't know how I'm standing still. It'll just take an accidental arrow shot here. But the archers are starting to get set up, right? Infantry divisions to be told to charge. These archers have pretty good line of sight, but let's give them one more flanking angle here, right? Let's continue to move in different troops at better angles. That way, as the enemy comes in, we're hitting him from the flank because this battle is still razor close. I got you covered, bud. I don't know how I'm still standing. I think it's time for one more fucking death ride on foot. It's a scrum here of archers. My men are fighting to the death. Let's join them. They've got cav out in front of them. We can continue to do shield and shock here. Get moving, dude. Hurry up. Man, what I would do for half a health bar right now. It's a scrum. It's fucking glorious, though. Let's continue to shove this giant camel line. Look at all these shock troops behind the camels. Fucking beautiful, right? These guys are going to absolutely plow the road here. And push the 7th division up, and that'll free all those archers up, right? As soon as these camels get out of their way, they're going to be able to shoot anything that's left behind. It's basically like uncovering all their enemy forces and just getting them scorched with arrows. You fucking assholes. Got little random troops attacking me. Oh, shit. Well, okay, down he goes. All right, so give me I want a shock troop or something. I guess we'll just take this guy. A Lake Rat Wrecker. And now, honestly, it's F1, F3, right? I'd love to tell you there's great tactics at this stage. From my position here, I can't see. I know those archers are over there in a good spot on the right. They've got a cav line in front of them, although we'll be charging now. And we've just got to trying to finish the deal here. We've got tons of reinforcements moving up. In fact, this is beautiful. The Aserai have forces. They haven't been a major part of this battle, but it looks like they just got a big wave in. And it is chaos. I've got a Lake Rat Wrecker, so I've got all kinds of javelins. We can fling some javelins right into the face of these fucking soon-to-be-dead Valandians. Die, motherfucker. And I think we've got this. It's a scrum. Holy shit. There's so many troops. This battle has been incredibly long. Continue to shove up here, boys. Heavy cav. All right, so there's infantry here. There's archers standing there. A lot of those are the Aserai forces just being dipshits. I think our archers are in good position, but let's start to micromanage them. All these, you want these Lake Rat Wreckers, when there's no ridge, to just charge and hold fire. You don't want them trying to throw their javelins. Tell them to charge and hold fire, and then once you're over the ridge, then they can throw their javelins. All right, we've gained this ridge here. We've got a steamroller of infantry moving forward. Let's get archers spread out here over the top of this ridge. They've got a ton of troops on the other side of this ridge, so we got to be careful. But we've got a head of steam here, and let's not try to lose it here. Fucking archers. Crossbow. Catches a headshot. All right, we got this shit. I got a nice position to command here. We've got a cav line. The 3rd Corps can move in. The archers can be set up here on this ridge. I've got all kinds of fucking Lake Rat Wreckers throwing fucking javelins. The Lake Rat Wrecker is probably my favorite minor clan. You know what, people, I love javelins, and they have 10 javelins. It's fucking amazing. They're not horrible at melee, right? They've got this little axe. It looks like I'm swinging a hammer, a little ball-peen hammer at guys. And of course, this guy moves pitifully slow. I'm used to the speed of Wazuban. This feels painfully slow. But I'm not really fighting here, right? I'm commanding. At this stage, my purpose is much more battlefield commander. Finish this battle off. And now we've got this battle won. Now let's make sure we minimize casualties here, right? We've got these archers flaying the enemy from the flank. They're in a great position. We have a huge maelstrom of infantry pushing through the center. Those guys are doing good work. And these archers should be just scorching. Yeah, here they come. Now they come the arrows. Look at the arrows raining in here from these archers. So that was worth it. Getting those archers set up there is paying dividends. And the Valandians are now they're getting scorched by archers. Look at those archers working. My favorite sound death. It just sounds like it hurts. And we've got this fucking battle won. Our archers are scorching everything. Oh, another big deep breath. Man, fellas, this fucking battle has been grueling. This campaign is wearing me out. Of course, this is intentional, but I can't tell you how stressful this is. This is funny. I go on a CPR call. I'm a full-time firefighter, and no stress. And I do mean it's good stress, by the way. This is like watching an exhilarating movie. These battles, especially where I just don't know which way it's going to go, everything's on the line. These battles really are as intense as like a CPR call. In fact, in a way, I feel more stressed out after a battle like that than I do CPR. Maybe because I've done CPR so often. But the stakes are high here, right? Obviously, if we suffered 500 more casualties here, this campaign is over, right? We're not going to be able to continue. We've still got battles after this, right? Not to mention, we're going to start to deal with the effects of the weather. It's just going to pile on as we celebrate here. Now, you cross your fingers here and hope that Wazuban doesn't get killed. Ah, fuck. Well, he didn't, but his lieutenant did. This is... Damn, we lost our healers in back-to-back battles. These are our 2 healing companions, or I guess I should say these were our healing companions, and that is a huge loss by Dowd. I think that's the Jawal leader as well. So this is a pretty calamitous loss. Guzid here thanks us for the 86th time in this campaign. We've saved his ass so many fucking times. Man, you just take a deep breath. You know, we've got 460 troops left here. A bunch are injured. We may need to wait it out here at this castle. I think the castle will be taken. I'm not sure how the mechanics work. They were trying to siege and we intervened, so I think the castle should be ours. But I also have to take stock of what's going to happen here. Her army is going to be disbanded, so we'll have to put a new leader in charge of it and move on. We're getting a little auto save here. 325 troops. So the Aserai have a bunch of little mushroom armies here, but they're not engaging. Yeah, so we're going to change her party here. It says Banu Azwahir party or whatever. I don't know who to make it because we don't have any other healing companions, but we got to make it somebody. Here, let's make it Wazuban's wife. She's 277 steward skill. Her medicine skills suck, but at least it's somebody who can probably hold on to most of those troops, right? I need to not have a bunch of deserters here as we head to this castle. And I think we need to wrap this episode up. I'm adding up the totals here. And this episode is already going to be long. I want to talk extensively about the weather here, but I think we will start next episode with more discussion on that. I see this other little army is heading away. That's that Jawal. He got killed as well. It's a bloody battle, and I don't know what we're going to call this battle. You know, whatever. It doesn't have to be an actual historical battle, but that was messy. We have to help the Aserai here finish this siege because, quite frankly, I think we might stay at this castle for a few days. I'm trying to think historically. Napoleon stayed at Smolensk for 5 or 6 days. I think we will call this Smolensk. In fact, I can exit this, reload the save game, do a little fancy editing, and this will appear as Smolensk. So we've got, I imagine they stuffed the garrison full. They did. So this is the perfect time to end an episode here because I've got to get these troops sorted out. I've got to get our captains figured out. I've got to sort of come up with strategy here to continue to try to survive in this deathmatch final campaign. Oof. All right, so we're at Kranirog / Smolensk. We're going to rest here. I'm going to try to get some of these mercenary armies filled up for troops. That way they don't leave us, right? We're going to try to figure out our situation with our own captains here, donate some troops to Rema, and we will come back. Of course, if you want to see more from this campaign, this made-up Napoleonic campaign of attrition, I promise you it's going to be interesting, even if it's not successful. You want to subscribe, fellas? Please turn on notifications, leave comments, all that good stuff. Hit that like button. I appreciate you guys. And with all that said, man, I will see you guys next time.